everyone. I just spoke with legendary investor Carl Icahn, and take a listen to who he thinks will be the best person for Treasury Secretary. Here he is.
I like Jamie Dimon, I know him, but I have never really thought that he would do that job, or that Donald was considering him. I don't think Donald, I'm not saying this because I don't really respect Jamie Dimon, but I just think, that Donald's the loyal guy, and he's got people around him that are very smart, and they were with him. And Steve Mnuchin was with him the whole way, and I think Steve, you don't give the job to somebody just because he's been with him, but I think Steve is an extremely bright guy. I had dinner with him the other night, and I think he'd do a great job.
All right. So Carl Icahn is putting his money on Steve Mnuchin. He thinks he will be the guy to be Treasury Secretary, and he was saying he'd be a heck of a Treasury Secretary, and there's a lot to be done right now. Joining me with their thoughts on all of it, Michael Barone from the Washington Examiner, our very own Ashley Webster. And
really respect Jamie Dimon, but I just think, that Donald's the loyal guy, and he's got people around him that are very smart, and they were with him. And Steve Mnuchin was with him the whole way, and I think Steve, you don't give the job to somebody just because he's been with him, but I think Steve is an extremely bright guy. I had dinner with him the other night, and I think he'd do a great job.
all right. So Carl Icahn is putting his money on Steve Mnuchin. He thinks he will be the guy to be Treasury Secretary, and he was saying he'd be a heck of a Treasury Secretary, and there's a lot to be done right now. Joining me with their thoughts on all of it, Michael Barone from the Washington Examiner, our very own Ashley Webster, and former member of Trump's Hispanic Advisory Committee and BGC Partners, senior strategist Steve Cortes. Good to see all you guys. Steve, I'll start with you. All right, tell us about Steve Mnuchin. Do you agree with Mr. Icahn that he is, in fact, going to be the next Treasury Secretary of the United States of America?
That's my thought, but I'm not saying that from Team Trump. I'm not privy to those negotiations. But my guess is he's the front runner, although Congressman Hensarling, I think, is also an outstanding candidate. And whether he ends up as Treasury Secretary or just an ally of the administration on the Hill, I think he's also going to do great work to revive this economy. But either one of them, I think, would be a great choice. And I'm so glad that Mr. Icahn spoke about the albatross of regulation and taxes that are just preventing this economy from soaring. Trish, I just took a look at Drudge Report, and the very, very first headline there was iPhones to be made in America again, potentially.
I saw that.
Yes. That is morning in America, Trish. And it's going to happen, and government's gonna take off the shackles. This runner that's the American economy that's been shackled down with a weighted vest, we're taking that vest off.
Actually, you heard Carl talk about how the American worker effectively has really been penalized in all of this, that they have been the ones that have lost out in this phase of globalization.
Yeah.
The elites have benefited, and unfortunately, to a certain extent, maybe to a very big extent, business, the elites, the political elites have all effectively been in bed together, and there's been no one actually looking out for everyone else.
Right, and everyone else ended up voting for Donald Trump, didn't they? The big forgotten bloc that have not been spoken to for so long, considered maybe to be Democrats. Apparently not. They've been taken for granted. They want growth. They want their jobs back. And Steve brings up Apple. I don't know whether Apple's playing some games here and just saying, look, we'll have our suppliers over in Asia have a look at what it would take to bring some jobs back to America. The fact that they're even talking about it is absolutely
Isn't that amazing?
fascinating.
Can we get shares of Apple right now? Let's take a look at the stock price and see how it's doing.
Yeah.
But Apple has outsourced so much of the iPhone making, of course, all of it to China. We've looked previously at some of the conditions that Chinese workers face there, and Michael Barone, to a certain extent, as an American, how the heck can you compete with that when they're willing to work for a fraction of the price? Is that where you really need someone in government to come along and say, no, we're going to try and even the playing field here so that American workers actually have a shot at this?
Well, we'll see what happens in terms of evening the playing field and so forth. If you're going to make everything that's made in China and Walmart cost double what it is today, you're going to actually nick the paychecks and net worth and bank accounts and MasterCard accounts of an awful lot of modest income people in the United States, and we'll see where that goes.
See, all right, so that's the flip side of this, right? Your concern is inflation because if you can't get those cheap goods, those cheap candles made in China that they're selling, in Walmart for 50 cents, then you're going to start paying more, and therefore it's going to eat into your income.
Cheap candles.
You
We're
know,
talking
cheap
about
everything.
school
I get it. I'm
clothes.
talking widgets. Effectively, I hear you. Cheap stuff that you can buy here plentifully.
But Trish.
But go ahead, Ashley. I
Yeah,
want to hear that.
I want to give you this number because we looked at this story when it came out. An iPhone 7 with 32 gig memory costs Apple about $268. It comes back to the US, the estimate is $649 plus whatever they put on top of that. So to that point, all of a sudden things become very expensive. That's the downside.
Yeah, we're not talking about a huge amount of jobs here, but I think one thing that Carl Icahn mentioned on this, if you get an economy growing faster, you're going to get more jobs, and people are going to earn respect and earn success from having those jobs. I think that that's a more important potential goal for this administration.
We think about making
up trade
America
barriers
great
and-
again, the whole theme, right? The slogan. There was a time in this country where you could have a fairly steady, fairly good job, didn't necessarily require a ton of intellectual capital, Steve Cortes, but you could get a job at the manufacturing plant. And you could have a decent life, and yeah, maybe all those widgets coming from China were not there plentifully on the shelves from Walmart, but maybe we don't need it. I mean, maybe if people are making more and they have a better path forward economically, maybe that's the answer.
Right. Well, I think, Trish, a lot of what you're speaking to here as well, policy is really important, but attitude is as well. The intangibles of confidence. We certainly see it right now on Wall Street. Wall Street's showing a lot of confidence in our economic future. Too many people completely lost confidence. Businesses, maybe even more importantly, lost confidence. Mr. Icahn spoke to that also. CEOs don't want to invest because they feel that they're at war with the government here. Again, if we clear the regulatory hurdles, if we reduce and simplify the tax code, what are we going to do? We're going to give confidence to take risks, to invest in people and technology here. I think we're just at the cusp of an American renaissance, and it's going to be incredible.
hope
And middle
so.
America will be rewarded
We hope
for
so.
giving their confidence to Donald Trump.
We'll see, but optimism abounds right now. Michael, Ashley, and Steve, at least when it comes to this market, as we near 19,000 on the Dow. We're taking a quick break. We'll be right back.